Life is not soft. The world is not gentle. Challenges will not step aside for you. They will crush you if you let them. That's why you need more than just discipline, more than patience. You need force. You need aggression, not mindless rage, not chaos, but controlled aggression, the ability to turn it on when it matters most, to unleash power, to impose will, to break through obstacles. Because when life corners you, when enemies, whether external or internal, stand in your way, you won't negotiate with them. You won't politely ask for a pass. You will move forward with strength, with speed, with violence of action. That's what this is about. Developing the capacity to be aggressive, to wield force, to become someone who cannot be stopped. Now, the question is, will you stay soft, or will you forge the weapon inside you? Controlled aggression is not chaos, it is not blind fury, and it is not recklessness. It is precision. It is power harnessed and directed with intent. When people hear the word aggression, they often think of wild outbursts, uncontrolled anger, or destructive violence. That is weakness disguised as strength. True aggression, the kind that becomes a weapon, is forged through discipline. It is deliberate. It is focused. It is calculated. It is the ability to switch on intensity in an instant and to use it for a specific purpose, not to lose yourself in it, but to sharpen yourself with it. Controlled aggression is the edge you bring when hesitation would cost you everything. In life, in business, in war, hesitation kills. The person who waits, who second guesses, who tiptoes around the hard decisions gets left behind. But the person who understands how to apply force at the right time with speed and certainty, that is the person who wins. Controlled aggression means when it is time to move, you move with conviction. When it is time to attack, you attack without pause. It is a weapon because it allows you to overwhelm resistance before it overwhelms you. Aggression without control burns out fast. It wastes energy, destroys relationships, and creates collateral damage. That is why it must be forged in discipline. You learn when to hold back and when to unleash. You learn to read the environment, the battlefield, the opponent across from you. And when the time is right, you do not hold back. You hit hard. You hit fast. You overwhelm the opposition with such force that they have no time to react. That is the difference between aggression as a weakness and aggression as a weapon. In combat, soldiers are taught violence of action. It is not about being reckless. It is about decisive dominance. When you breach a door, when you move on a target, there is no time for hesitation. You enter with aggression because anything less gives the enemy time to counterattack. Life works the same way. Opportunities will not wait for you to feel ready. Challenges will not pause for you to gather confidence. You must act. And when you act aggressively with force and direction. That is how you break through obstacles. Controlled aggression also means knowing how to channel the natural energy inside you. Everyone feels anger. Everyone feels frustration. Everyone feels that fire in their chest when something is wrong. Most people waste it. They lash out, they complain, they self-destruct. But the warrior takes that fire and uses it. You put it into the workout, you put it into the business call, you put it into the negotiation, you put it into the fight. That aggression becomes fuel. That aggression becomes momentum. And because it is controlled, it does not burn you. It pushes you forward. Developing this capacity requires training. You cannot simply decide to be aggressive one day and expect it to be effective. You must build the foundation. You must learn to master your emotions under pressure. You must learn to breathe when the heat rises, to keep your mind clear while your body surges with energy. That is how you harness it. That is how you transform raw aggression into a precision weapon. It becomes something you can pick up and put down at will, something you can use strategically, not something that controls you. Aggression is also about posture, presence, and mindset. When you step into a room, when you confront a challenge, when you look at your own weaknesses, you do not approach timidly. You bring pressure. You bring intensity. You bring energy that says, I am here to win. This does not mean being arrogant or loud. It means radiating certainty. It means showing that you are not someone to be pushed aside. Controlled aggression communicates dominance without words. It tells the world that you are ready to act, And if necessary, you will act with force. Controlled aggression is a weapon because it makes you unshakable. When others hesitate, you strike. When others panic, you press forward. When others waste energy in rage, you conserve yours for the decisive blow. You become sharper, stronger, and harder to stop. It is a force multiplier in everything you do, physically, mentally, and strategically. It is the balance of discipline and ferocity, the marriage of calm and fire, the transformation of emotion into unstoppable power. Force without discipline is nothing more than wasted motion. It is strength scattered in every direction, burning hot for a moment, but leaving nothing lasting behind. Discipline is what shapes that force into something unstoppable. When you apply force with discipline, you are no longer just reacting, you are calculating, planning, and executing with precision. This combination is what wins battles, whether on the battlefield, in the boardroom, in the gym, or in your own personal struggles. Discipline takes raw energy and refines it. A soldier who charges forward without discipline will be cut down. A fighter who swings wildly will exhaust themselves and get countered. But the one who holds back, who waits for the opening, who controls their breathing, their timing, their pace, when they strike with force that matters. The impact is magnified because it is not wasted. Every ounce of energy is directed at the target. Every move serves a purpose. That is the power of disciplined force. Battles are not won by a single burst of effort. They are won by sustained pressure applied over time with consistency. Discipline is the system that ensures force is not a one-time event, but a continuous application of power. It is showing up when you are tired, pushing when you are unmotivated, keeping your standards high even when no one is watching. Force without discipline burns out after the first push. Force with discipline builds momentum that never stops. That momentum breaks down walls, outlasts opponents, and wears down resistance until the battle is won. Force with discipline also means restraint. Knowing when not to act can be just as important as knowing when to strike. Discipline teaches you patience, the ability to hold your position, to conserve your strength, and to wait for the decisive moment. This is how great generals win wars. They don't attack recklessly at the first opportunity. They hold their line, study the enemy, wait for the weakness to reveal itself, and then they unleash overwhelming force at exactly the right time. That is how smaller armies defeat larger ones. That is how disciplined people outpace and outperform those who rely only on emotion or bursts of motivation. In life, every challenge you face can be seen as a battle. The enemy might be procrastination, weakness, fear, or external competition. And just like in combat, if you try to overcome these enemies with random bursts of energy, you will fail. You might fight hard for a day or a week, but then you burn out and the enemy regains ground. Discipline is what keeps you steady in the fight. It ensures that your force is not wasted. It ensures that every rep in the gym builds strength. Every hour of study builds knowledge. Every step toward your goal compounds into real progress. That is the kind of force that breaks down any opponent. Force applied with discipline also creates confidence. When you know you can trust yourself to show up, to follow through, to stay in control even under pressure, you become dangerous. Confidence does not come from talking, it comes from action. And when your actions are guided by discipline, every move you make reinforces your belief in your own capability. That belief fuels even more disciplined action, and the cycle builds until your force becomes unstoppable. The combination of force and discipline is also what separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs rely on inspiration, on motivation, on luck. Professionals rely on discipline. They know that force without control is wasted, so they train relentlessly to master themselves. They understand that discipline is the amplifier, the multiplier, the secret weapon that ensures their effort actually produces results. And when the moment of conflict comes, when pressure rises, when the stakes are high, they execute with precision. Their force is not wild, not sporadic, but focused like a blade. This principle extends to every arena of life. In leadership, discipline ensures that the force of your decisions moves the team forward, not into chaos. In relationships, discipline ensures that the force of your emotions builds strength instead of destruction. In personal growth, Discipline ensures that the force you apply daily compounds into something greater. It is this combination that wins. Force on its own may land a blow, but force guided by discipline wins battles. Hesitation is the killer. It is the pause that gives your opponent time to strike, the moment of doubt that erodes your momentum, the crack in your armor where fear seeps in. When the stakes are high, hesitation costs lives, opportunities, and victories. That is why violence of action is the antidote. Violence of action means committing fully, moving decisively, hitting with overwhelming force instead of waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. It is not recklessness. It is clarity in motion. It is domination through decisive execution. On the battlefield, hesitation is lethal. When a door is breached, the soldiers who enter cannot tiptoe or second guess. They go in with speed, with aggression, with violence of action. That is what clears the room and secures the objective. Anything less creates space for the enemy to react, to counter, to kill. The same principle holds true in life. Opportunities do not wait. They vanish when you hesitate. You either act or you lose. Violence of action ensures you seize the initiative and keep the advantage. Hesitation often disguises itself as caution, as waiting for more information, as preparing for the right time, but behind that mask is fear. Fear of failure, fear of making the wrong move, fear of committing. The problem is that fear compounds with time. The longer you wait, the heavier it becomes until it paralyzes you completely. Violence of action breaks that cycle. It is the decision to move forward before fear can gain ground, to launch yourself into the fight and deal with the consequences from a position of strength rather than weakness. Violence of action is not about chaos, it is about speed and dominance. When you strike first and strike hard, you set the tone, you dictate the tempo. The opponent is forced to react to you instead of you reacting to them. In combat, this is the difference between life and death. In business, it is the difference between leading the market and chasing it. In personal battles, it is the difference between conquering your weakness or being crushed by it. The one who acts with violence of action gains control, while the one who hesitates gives it away. The mind will always try to slow you down. It will whisper reasons to wait, to delay, to overthink. It will tell you to hold back until conditions are perfect. But conditions will never be perfect. The battlefield will always be chaotic. The mission will always involve risk. Violence of action accepts imperfection and moves anyway. It recognizes that momentum is more powerful than flawless planning. You can adjust while moving, but you cannot adjust while frozen. This principle applies to training, to work, to life itself. When you are in the gym, hesitation means half effort. It means racking the weight before the rep is done. It means cheating yourself of growth. Violence of action means pushing the bar with everything you have, finishing the rep, grinding through the set. When you face a hard decision in business or leadership, hesitation means endless meetings, wasted time, lost opportunities. Violence of action means making the call, taking the step, executing now. When you face personal struggles, hesitation means allowing fear, laziness, and excuses to grow stronger. Violence of action means cutting through the noise, moving your feet, doing the work immediately. Violence of action is also about mindset. It is carrying the mentality that when it is time to move, you will move with overwhelming force. You do not test the water, you dive in. You do not knock softly, you break the door down. This mentality trains you to trust yourself, to trust your preparation, to believe that once you engage fully, you can adapt and overcome whatever comes next. It builds confidence and momentum. It transforms you from someone who waits into someone who leads. Every battle, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, comes down to a moment of choice. Do you hesitate or do you act? Do you let doubt creep in or do you overwhelm it with decisive movement? Violence of action is the answer. It is the principle that turns hesitation into momentum, fear into fuel, and uncertainty into dominance. Energy on its own is not enough. People waste energy every day. They complain, they argue, they let frustration spill out in every direction. That energy burns hot for a moment, then it is gone, leaving nothing behind. The difference between those who make progress and those who stay stuck is not how much energy they have, but how they direct it. When you channel energy into decisive movement, you transform raw emotion into action that matters. You stop scattering your force and instead aim it like a weapon. Every situation demands energy, but only focused energy produces results. Think about water. When it flows freely, it spreads everywhere with no impact. But when it is forced through a narrow channel, it gains pressure, it gains speed, it cuts through rock. Human energy works the same way. When you let your energy drift aimlessly, it fades into nothing. But when you harness it, concentrate it, and direct it toward decisive movement, you create momentum that nothing can stop. Decisive movement means action without hesitation. It is movement with purpose. It is not simply doing something for the sake of motion. It is doing the right thing at the right time with full commitment. Energy without decision leads to frustration and chaos. Decision without energy leads to hesitation and weakness. The combination of energy and decisive movement is what drives you forward. It is what allows you to cut through obstacles and impose your will on the situation. Emotions generate energy. Anger, frustration, fear, even excitement. These all flood the body with power. Most people let those emotions control them. They explode in anger, they freeze in fear, or they get reckless with excitement. The disciplined person does not waste those emotions. They capture them. They take that surge of energy and channel it into controlled, decisive action. When anger comes, they use it to fuel harder training. When fear comes, they use it to sharpen focus. When excitement comes, they use it to execute at a higher level. The energy becomes fuel, not destruction. In combat, this principle is survival. A soldier who panics wastes energy on fear and indecision. A soldier who channels that same adrenaline into decisive movement clears the room, secures the objective, and stays alive. The difference is not in the amount of energy, but in how it is directed. Life works the same way. When stress hits, when pressure mounts, when challenges pile up, you can either let that energy consume you, or you can channel it into the next decisive move. That move builds momentum, and momentum wins battles. Discipline is what allows you to channel energy instead of wasting it. Without discipline, energy pulls you in 100 directions. You start something but never finish. You react to everything but accomplish nothing. With discipline, you create order. You set priorities. You focus. And when energy rises inside you, you already know where to direct it. Instead of scattering it, you funnel it straight into decisive movement that takes you one step closer to the mission. This principle is not only about big actions. It applies to small decisions every single day. You wake up tired. There is energy there, the energy of resistance, of wanting to stay in bed. You channel it into decisive movement, getting up, putting your feet on the floor, starting the day. You face an obstacle at work. There is energy in the frustration. You channel it into decisive movement, solving the problem, making the call, moving forward. These small moments compound. Each time you channel energy, instead of wasting it, you strengthen the habit. Channeling energy into decisive movement also creates confidence. Every time you act decisively, you reinforce trust in yourself. You prove that you are not controlled by emotion, but that you control it. That trust builds certainty, and certainty fuels even stronger actions. The cycle repeats, energy comes, you channel it, decisive movement follows, results appear, and your belief grows stronger. Over time, you become someone who does not scatter force, does not waste energy, but someone who moves with focus and clarity. Energy is a resource. It can be wasted, or it can be weaponized. The difference lies in decision. When you feel it rise inside you, do not let it burn out in hesitation or chaos. Direct it, focus it, channel it into decisive movement that takes you closer to your objective. Obstacles are a guarantee. They will rise in front of you, they will test you, they will push back against every step you try to take. Wishing for an easy path is weakness, because the path will never be easy. The answer is not to avoid obstacles, but to build the strength to dominate them. Strength is not only physical, though physical power matters. Strength is also mental, emotional, and spiritual. It is the capacity to carry weight, to endure hardship, and to keep moving forward when everything around you is trying to stop you. Building strength is a process. It does not come from comfort, It does not come from ease. It does not come from shortcuts. It comes from resistance. Just as the body grows stronger under the pressure of heavy weights, the mind grows stronger under the weight of challenges. Every obstacle is resistance training for life. Every time you face one, you have the choice: let it crush you or let it forge you. Strength is built in those choices, in the decision to keep fighting when it would be easier to quit. Obstacles do not respect your plans. They do not care about your timeline. They appear without warning. They throw you off balance. They make you question yourself. Without strength, you crumble. With strength, you adjust, you adapt, you overcome. Strength allows you to see obstacles not as dead ends, but as tests. And when you have trained yourself to be strong, you do not just survive those tests, you dominate them. You impose your will on them instead of allowing them to dictate the outcome. Strength begins with the body. A weak body limits everything. Physical training is not just about appearance, it is about capability. It is about conditioning yourself to endure pain, to push past fatigue, to carry more than your share. A strong body builds a strong mind, because when you prove to yourself that you can push one more rep, one more mile, one more round, you prove that you are capable of more than you thought. That belief translates into every other part of life. Physical strength is the foundation on which mental and emotional strength are built. But strength is not only physical. Mental strength is the ability to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly when everything around you is chaos. It is built through discipline, through facing discomfort on purpose, through putting yourself in situations where you must adapt and overcome. Emotional strength is the ability to control your reactions, to not let anger or fear dictate your actions, to remain steady when others break. Spiritual strength is the anchor that keeps you grounded, the sense of purpose that carries you through when your body is broken and your mind is exhausted. All of these forms of strength combine to create someone who cannot be easily moved, someone who dominates obstacles instead of being dominated by them. Obstacles are not fair. They are not equal. Some are massive, others small, but every single one is an opportunity to grow stronger. Most people see obstacles as barriers. The strong see them as stepping stones. Each one you overcome builds the next layer of strength. Each one prepares you for something bigger. By the time you reach the greatest obstacles of your life, the ones that would break the average person, you have built yourself into someone who cannot be broken. Strength also gives you presence. When others face obstacles, they look for someone who can lead, someone who can carry the weight, someone who will not collapse under pressure. If you have built strength, you become that person. You become the one who takes charge, who lifts others up, who dominates the challenge, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Strength is not selfish. Strength spreads. When you dominate obstacles, you create momentum that pulls others forward as well. The process never ends. There will always be heavier weights, harder challenges, greater obstacles. That is why building strength is a lifelong mission. You do not train once and declare victory. You train every day, physically, mentally, emotionally. You put yourself in situations that test you. You seek out resistance. You welcome the struggle, because every ounce of strength you build is another weapon in the fight. When the next obstacle appears, you do not flinch. You do not hesitate. You dominate it. Pressure is something most people run from. They see it as a weight, as stress, as something to be avoided. But pressure is not the enemy. It is the environment where growth is forged. Diamonds are created under pressure. Steel is tempered under pressure. Human beings reach their highest potential under pressure. The difference between those who break and those who rise is perspective. Pressure can crush you, or it can become the source of your greatest strength. The key is learning to turn pressure into power. Pressure reveals who you are. When things are easy, anyone can appear calm, confident, and capable. But ease does not test you. It does not expose your weaknesses, and it does not demand your best. Pressure strips away all pretense. It shows your level of preparation, your level of discipline, your level of mental toughness. If you have built the foundation, if you have put in the work, pressure does not destroy you. It activates you. It pulls something out of you that comfort never could. Turning pressure into power requires discipline. Without discipline, pressure becomes chaos. You panic, you overthink, you hesitate, and you collapse under the weight. With discipline, you control your breathing, you slow your mind, you focus on what matters. Discipline gives you the ability to stay steady in the storm. While others scatter, you remain locked in. That steadiness allows you to channel the intensity of pressure into decisive action. The pressure fuels you instead of breaking you. Pressure also builds resilience. Every time you face it and endure, you get stronger. Just like muscles grow by being pushed to their limit, your character grows by being tested under strain. The more pressure you expose yourself to, the more comfortable you become with it. Eventually, situations that would have crushed you before now feel manageable. What used to feel overwhelming becomes just another challenge to conquer. You develop confidence not by avoiding pressure, but by facing it again and again until it becomes familiar. In combat, pressure is constant. The uncertainty, the risk, the danger. There is no escaping it. The soldiers who survive and succeed are not the ones who avoid pressure, but the ones who adapt to it, who thrive in it, who use it to sharpen their edge. They understand that pressure is the price of victory. The same is true in life. The higher you climb, the more pressure you will face, more responsibility, more expectations, more eyes on you. If you want to lead, if you want to win, you must embrace that pressure and learn to use it. Turning pressure into power also means reframing your mindset. Instead of seeing pressure as stress, you see it as opportunity. Pressure means the stakes are high. Pressure means the outcome matters. Pressure means you are in the arena while others are sitting safely on the sidelines. That is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. It means you are alive. It means you are being tested. And it means you have a chance to rise. Practical action matters here. When pressure hits, you cannot simply wish it away. You must break it down. Focus on what you can control. Control your breathing. Control your thoughts. Control your actions. Simplify the problem into the next step and attack it. Each small action builds momentum. Each decision under pressure teaches you to trust yourself. That trust compounds until pressure no longer feels like a weight, but like fuel. The transformation happens when you stop resisting pressure and start leaning into it. You welcome the challenge, you welcome the responsibility, you welcome the weight, because you know that every ounce of pressure you face can be converted into strength. You take what others see as a burden and turn it into a weapon. That is how pressure becomes power. It is not about escaping the weight, but about carrying it, lifting it, and using it to become stronger, sharper, and more capable than you were before.